Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So I got a great concept for you to ponder today, and it's about the pain threshold. How far can you push yourself in a survival situation? How much pain do you think you can endure? What are you willing to do and not do? What is your limit? What is your threshold for tolerance for discomfort? That's what we're going to talk about today, so stick around. Now, if you haven't seen the movie 127 Hours, I would encourage you to go check it out. It's a great depiction of what I want to talk about today, and it's the ability to push yourself through pain in order to truly survive. So this guy gets his arm stuck in a rock. He's out biking in the desert. He falls into a cave or something like that, and then he gets his arm stuck in a rock, and he cannot get his arm out of this rock, and he's going to basically die of dehydration if he cannot get his arm out of this rock. So he's left with no other choice but to cut his arm off with, I'm not sure what he had, I think he had some small knife or something like that, but he basically had to cut his entire arm off in order to survive. Now, how many people think that they would be willing to bring themselves to the point of doing that? Imagine how painful that would be. And I want you to really think about it, because I know there's a lot of keyboard commandos out there who think that whatever situation they're put in, they're going to rise to the occasion and they're going to be the hero and they're going to do whatever it takes to survive, even though you ain't thriving right now. And as I've said before, if you are not thriving, well, things are miraculous right now. While we have all the technology, all of the potential, all of the freedoms that you need to be a success in this world, if you live in particularly Western countries, and if you're sitting there complaining that things aren't going well for you, something's wrong. Because I can guarantee you there's billions of people lining up to be in your position. So consider that. Are you really going to be able to commit to it when it comes down to the wire? That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about putting ourselves in situations that are uncomfortable, because that's really what it is. Pain, for me, we're going to talk about the neurological basis of pain, but I also want to talk about it in a more abstract sense, because pain just isn't about if you get shot, can you carry on? It's not just about are you going to be able to keep moving when your hands have frozen solid after being outside in minus 30 temperatures and not being able to start a fire. Are you going to be able to carry a loved one through a burning building while parts of your body are on fire? That's a certain type of pain, but there's another more subjective type of pain, and indeed that type of pain also has been proven to be largely influenced by your thoughts and your emotions. So it's not just a sensory thing. Pain is very much a psychologically influenced process. Now, I was in a biking accident when I was younger. I was racing my buddies. They were in a car. I was in a bike. I was riding bareback, no helmet. You know, this was back in the late 90s where people still had a little bit of blood flowing through their veins. And basically what happened, this girl who was 16-year-old, she was turning left and I was coming in the opposing direction. First day having her license, didn't see me coming. It was nighttime. I had the right of way. I had reflectors on the bike, whatever. She didn't see me. It's water under the bridge. Basically, I hit the side of her car as she was turning. So she was turning this way. I'm coming this way, and I hit the side of her car. I bounced over, smashed through her windshield. I totally smashed her windshield, but actually bounced off after I smashed her entire windshield, and I landed on the pavement. Fortunately, with my cat-like reflexes, I made sure that I did not hit my head. Regardless, I had a massive chunk of flesh taken out of my leg, and I could see my shin bone. I had cuts and scrapes and bruises everywhere, but I was in absolutely no pain because my body went into shock. I recall specifically telling my buddies, you know, like, what's all the people standing around for? You know, aren't we going to go get some beers and smoke some doobies and all that kind of stupid stuff we used to do? And they were like, dude, you're bleeding in like 10 different places and you have a huge chunk taken out of your leg that's 3 inch by 1 inch and we can see the bone. And I was like, oh yeah, that's probably something I should get looked at. So I let him take me to the hospital, and for the next few hours, I could literally see my bone and there was no pain whatsoever. So I had passed a point of the pain threshold in which my body and the adrenaline, the endorphins that were flowing overrode the pain sensation, and I basically felt no pain. Now, I was fortunate in that situation, and the reason why the body does this is because the body knows that when you're faced with a life or death situation, that it needs to stop pain from distracting you and interfering with what you're doing, so that you can either get yourself out of there or that you can fight, basically to the death, fight or flight. That's why the adrenaline kicks in, to suppress the pain, and it gives you a form of hysterical strength where you don't feel pain for a certain period of time. And some people say, although it's not scientifically proven, that your strength will actually increase, your ability to endure certain things, your stamina, your speed, your actual brute force physical strength will temporarily increase. But we're not always going to be so lucky to have that sort of discomfort suppressed. You are going to experience it on a sensory, on a thinking, cognitive, psychological, and an emotional level. It is going to be debilitating. When I talk about pain, I'm not just talking about it in the sense of tactile sensation, where what they call nociception, which is you have these nociceptor receptors on your body. So when you get cut, burned, whatever the case might be, these nociceptors send signals to what's called your somatosensory cortex, and that tells your brain where on your body you're experiencing that pain. And then after that, after your body has recognized where it is, and you look down and you can see there's a cut on your hand and you go, ah! The point between acknowledging that there's a cut on your hand and the point of registering it as pain and giving a certain negative association to that pain or a negative interpretation to that pain is when that signal from that somatosensory cortex is going to your frontal lobes. There's a point there where it's entirely subjective, and this is proven in scientific research, where they've shown that they've done an experiment where they have this metal rod which is frozen down to minus 20 degrees Celsius, and they basically flash a red light or a blue light, and they tell people that the red light means hot and that the blue light means cold. And they tell them this several times until people get the association. Okay, red means hot, blue means cold. Already pre-existing in our society anyways, so it's easy for them to go with that association. What they found is that when they touch the back of a person's hand with this cold metal rod, which sends a pain signal because it's very cold, it's going to cause frostbite, which is going to trigger those nociceptors. And basically what they found is that when they flash the red light saying hot, people rate the pain as significantly higher than they would if they flash a blue light registering cold. Now this is very important because this tells you that context is very important in how you interpret things based on your environment, based on your expectations of the situation. It tells you that there's a lot of wiggle room there, that you're not just at the whim of your environment when it comes to the pain that you can experience, that you can control it with your mind. Now, when I talk about pain in the abstract sense, I'm talking about the pain of having to ration your food in an SHTF situation. It's going to suck to have the self-discipline and the restraint to not take more sips of water than you are ration, or not eat more calories than your ration. It's going to take self-discipline to do that. It's going to be an uncomfortable situation when all of the technology that you come to enjoy is suddenly taken away. People nowadays, at the slightest sign of discomfort, are scrambling for a pill. They're scrambling for some quick fix to the problem. And you're not going to have that when the crap hits the fan. So he who can adapt, he who can adjust and be okay being uncomfortable, is going to be a person who's at an extreme advantage. And you can tell that there's some people who are more capable of enduring pain, and some people are more capable than they really give themselves credit for. It's just they don't have the motivation to go along with it, which is why they're stuck in whatever position they are in life that they don't want to be in. But there's other aspects of pain as well. There's visual pain. When you see something on a screen that you have to look away, that's a form of visual pain. There's sensory pain when you smell something that's really nasty and you just makes you want to vomit. There's taste pain where something tastes disgusting, or the texture, the thought of eating a bug. Would you be able to eat a bug when the crap hits the fan? You're going to have to deal with the sensation of it, a foreign sensation. It's going to create an uncomfortable feeling for you if you have to eat that bug, and you're going to have to psychologically get over it, because really, at the end of the day, there's nutrients in that bug that you are trying to get into your body. The only barrier in between you and that is how you're thinking about the situation. Almost every animal on the planet eats bugs except human beings. There's even auditory pain, so the sound of nails going down a chalkboard. It can hurt your eardrums, certain sounds. So sensation and nociception, in my opinion, is not the only form of pain. Pain is better generally understood as a form of discomfort, because it is going to be your mind, as it is now, as the mind is what prevents so many people from being where they want to be in life right now. It is going to be one of your biggest challenges to overcome when you are put in an uncomfortable situation, and when you have all of the luxuries of modern civilization stripped away from you. It is going to largely come down to how you are interpreting the situation. It's just like if someone you love very dearly passes away. There's two ways of going about it. You can go through a natural grieving process, or you can start drinking, and you can drink yourself to death until you're right there with them. You could do that. If you break up, if you're in a relationship for a long period of time, you have two choices. You can carry on, go through a rough patch until life improves once again, or you can get hooked on pharmaceutical drugs, pick up some form of addiction, partake in other sort of obsessive behaviors. You could go that route, but you don't have to go that route. It's all a matter of how you are thinking about the situation. And what I'm saying with this whole video is that your pain threshold is largely dependent on how you think. It's not just about a signal that goes to your brain, because remember, that brain signal from those nociceptors on your skin, in different parts of your body, in your nerve endings, they send the signal to your brain, to a part of your brain that tells you which part of your body it's on. Then that part of the brain only then sends it to your forebrain, where it registers as, oh, I'm supposed to feel something right now. I'm supposed to interpret this situation. It's then and only then that we actually interpret that as a painful thing. For instance, the other day I was in the hot tent with the wood stove and I accidentally touched the chimney, the smokestack. And I didn't realize it because, it gets very hot. It's going to burn you if you touch it. And it wasn't until I looked at it and I seen what was happening did the pain suddenly become a negative thing. You feel the sensation, and then your mind creates a negative story about it. Now, I'm not saying in all cases it does this, but what I'm saying too is if you're in a crap hits the fan situation, and I don't want to say the word because it will make this video get demonetized. It's a word that starts with T. If some group is, I'm going to write it on the screen here, T'ing you, okay, then you're going to have to be able to not give up information about, perhaps it's your group, your community, your family, whatever information they want that's going to put others at risk. How much tea are you going to be able to truly endure if you cannot block pain? What I'm trying to provide you is an understanding of the neurological and the psychological process of pain, so you can recognize that a large part of that pain that you're going to be put under is going to be the result of your perception. You see, you have sensation and you have perception. Perception is entirely subjective. Sensation is not. When I sense something, when light hits my eyes, that image is burned onto my retina. That is an objective fact. How I interpret it, my perception of that sensation, is what differs. And that's up to me. So if I don't like the color red, and I see the color red and I get all offended, and that puts me in a state of discomfort, essentially pain, then that's of my own doing. So you can see how empowering what I'm saying can be in a very crappy situation. Imagine a situation where you are freezing to death and you cannot start a fire for the life of you. Maybe there's some cattails around. Maybe there's some dirty old leaves on the ground. You have a sweater. How possibly can you make these two things work to your advantage? Well, you can start stuffing your sweater full of leaves or the cattail heads, the fluff. in the cattails. That's going to provide you excellent insulation. Now, it's going to be very gross feeling. It's going to be very itchy feeling. But it's probably going to keep you alive at least a little bit longer than you would have had you not done that. There's 101 situations where the difference between living and dying is going to be determined by you willing to step out of your comfort zone temporarily so that you can keep on surviving. You can only imagine how many people in this world have perished because they could not handle discomfort. It drove them crazy. Perhaps they just didn't take the steps that they needed to, the physical steps, the tangible things that they had to do in order to survive. So much of our experience is determined by our thoughts. And I'm not talking about this in a wishy-washy, new age sense, oh, if you just think positive, everything's going to be okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your perception of reality is largely what dictates how you interact with the world. If you're in a crappy situation where your arm is stuck in that rock, you have two choices. You can die in that rock because the discomfort of having to cut your arm off and forever be a one-armed person, if that concept bothers you, you will die. If you can come to terms with that, if you can recognize, and this is the empowering piece, that that pain is just a signal that's traveling through your spinal cord, up to your brain, up to the somatosensory cortex, and then is interpreted by you as something, well, my friend, you can interpret it however you want. And what probably happened with this fella, I'm guessing, I haven't actually heard the true story, I haven't seen any interviews with him, but I'm presuming that at some point throughout that process, his body did probably go into shock. And quite frankly, he probably didn't feel any pain because the adrenaline, his brain was just flooded with endorphins to block out this sensation. Never mind the perception, because the body realizes that your mind is only capable of blocking out so much of this pain. So it has to get to it on a physical level and block the pain from ever being sensed. And that's what happens when you have those endorphins rush in there. So let me know what you think about this. What other types of scenarios might your threshold of pain be a factor in how long you might survive? Don't forget to show your support for the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing. Don't forget you can get your loved ones some of the most innovative preparedness and survival gifts on CanadianPreparedness.com with the Bug Out Roll, one of the most advanced gear organization systems available, as well as Silky Saws. And we have some of the best prices in Canada. We price match, free shipping over $100 in Canada. If you are in the United States, I would encourage you to get your Silky Saws through my store. You are going to save money even after shipping. These are some of the best gifts that you're going to give a person, and it's not until months later when they actually go into the bush and use them that you're going to get a phone call, you're going to get an email, hey man, you know that saw you bought me? That was the most amazing gift. It's amazing when you see people use Silky Saws for the first time. Almost every time they're blown away. Anyways, I'm rambling on here, guys. Don't forget to please leave a comment on this video. Show your support, like, subscribe, all the rest. Canadian Prepper out.